You know, artificial intelligence has just exploded into our lives. It's wild. Its adoption has outpaced even giants like Netflix and Uber. We're all in this mad dash to use it, which brings up a massive question. When these incredibly powerful systems inevitably get something wrong, who's on the hook? Who's actually responsible?
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by looking at AI as this kind of ungoverned frontier, and then we'll get into why governance is absolutely mission critical. From there, we'll break down the core pillars of responsible AI, show you how to turn those ideas into real world practice, and finally, talk about what it really means to lead in this new AI age. So, yeah, this rush to adopt AI has created a sort of digital Wild West. You've got organizations deploying these amazingly powerful tools without putting up the right guardrails first, and that's opening the door to some pretty serious risks. Okay, check this out, because this case just says it all. Air Canada's chatbot gave a customer some bad info. Now get this. In court, the company tried to argue that the chatbot was a separate legal entity and that it was responsible for its own actions. Seriously. The court's reaction was basically, absolutely not. It doesn't matter if the info comes from a static web page or a fancy chatbot, the company is responsible. It's a huge lesson. You can't just delegate your accountability to an algorithm. But the problem goes way deeper than just wrong information. AI bias, well, that's a whole different and much more dangerous beast. See, with human bias, you can often spot it, you can challenge it. But AI bias? That's usually buried deep inside a complex black box system. And here's the kicker. AI doesn't just copy our biases, it industrializes them. A biased person might impact a few decisions. A biased AI, it can make thousands or millions of discriminatory decisions in a matter of seconds. We actually saw this with an old experimental hiring tool from Amazon. It was trained on past data, and it ended up penalizing resumes that had the word women's in them. It amplified an existing bias at a scale that's just staggering. So all these individual stories, they point to a much, much bigger strategic risk. This is not just some tech problem you can hand off to the IT department. AI governance is really about trust. And at the end of the day, it's about your organization's ability to survive and grow. This quote from Melbourne Business School just nails it. Getting governance right isn't just about dodging lawsuits. It's a huge competitive advantage. It's all about securing what's called your social license to operate. Think about it. In a world where everyone's a little nervous about AI, being the company that proves it can be trusted, that's how you earn the right to innovate. If you don't have that trust, you're going to get left in the dust. And let's be absolutely crystal clear about where the buck stops. Just like any other decision the company makes, the final accountability for AI, it rests at the very top. The board of directors is legally and ethically on the hook for what these systems do. There is no hiding behind the tech, period. So we've laid out the problem. We understand the stakes. The solution? Well, it starts with building a clear, principled framework, a real foundation for trust. And the good news is, if you look at global standards, there's a clear consensus forming around 5 key pillars: accountability, fairness, transparency, privacy, and security. You can think of these as the absolute bedrock of any responsible AI strategy. They are the non-negotiables. Now, let's zoom in on one of those words for a second. Explainability. It's super important. This doesn't mean you have to read the AI's mind or understand every single line of code. What it means is getting a reason for a decision that a human can actually understand. It means being able to answer the most basic question. Hey, why did the AI deny that person's loan application? Okay, so having a set of principles is awesome, but how do you actually put them into practice? That's what this is all about. This is the how-to, a real, actionable plan for leaders and boards to get the ball rolling. A really fantastic model to look at is the EU AI Act's risk-based approach. The logic is actually very simple. Not all AI carries the same risk, so they categorize systems into a pyramid. At the bottom, you have minimal risk stuff like spam filters, which face very light rules. But at the top, you have unacceptable risks, like government social scoring, which are banned outright. It's a really practical way for any organization to start thinking about its own collection of AI tools. And just in case you're wondering if these new rules have any teeth, oh yeah, the penalty for the most serious violations under the EU AI Act is not small change. It can be up to 7% of a company's global annual turnover. That's a number that gets everybody's attention real fast. So what can a board do, like, right now? Well, it really comes down to 4 key things. First, create a clear policy.
Second, you have to audit and classify every single AI system you're using. You can't govern what you don't even know you have. Third, it's so important to have independent oversight to challenge your assumptions. And finally, the board must hold the final veto power. It has to retain that ultimate authority for what gets deployed. All right, that brings us to our final section. Because effective AI governance isn't about playing defense. It's actually about confidently stepping into the future and turning all of these responsible practices into a massive competitive advantage. Look, the most important thing to realize is that you don't have to wait for a bunch of new AI laws to be written. You already have obligations under existing consumer protection, privacy, and anti-discrimination laws. So get started now. Map out every AI system you're using. And get your hands dirty. Leaders need to actually use these tools to get what they're capable of. Encourage your people to experiment too, but do it within safe boundaries. All of this is how you actively build and protect that critical social license to innovate. And this might be the biggest takeaway of all. Governance isn't a one-and-done project. It's not a box you check off a list. The technology is changing constantly. The risks are evolving. The regulations are adapting. This has to be a living, breathing part of how your organization works, a continuous cycle of making policy, overseeing it, and adapting as you learn. So I'll just leave you with this one question. The age of AI is here. There are going to be winners and losers. The winners will be the ones who proactively build these frameworks of trust and responsibility. The losers? They'll be the ones caught reacting to scandals after they've already lost the public's trust. So the question is your organization prepared to lead, or is it just waiting to react?